On the 18th of September 2000, police got a frantic call from a man reporting that he had just found his boss on the floor in his flat with a knife in his chest. Minutes later, police were on the scene, but the victim, vintage car dealer Tom Cressman, was well beyond help. Tom was lying in a pool of blood and rigor mortis had already set in. Near Tom's body lay a cricket bat. Who would want Tom dead? Suspicion rapidly fell on 33-year-old Jane Andrews. Jane was Tom's living girlfriend and she was nowhere to be found. Now viewer, if I've got you hooked on the story so far, do subscribe, give the video a like, drop a comment when you're ready and donate. Hit the thanks button below, I'll appreciate you. Born in 1969 in Cleethorpes, Lincolnshire, Jane was the third of her parents' 3 children. The respective jobs of Jane's parents evidently weren't enough to adequately support the family of 5. To be exact, Jane's father's job as a joiner and her mother's job in social care weren't very well paid. When Jane was 8 then, her parents downgraded the family from the house that they had in Cleethorpes to a much smaller house up in Grimsby. This means that the family had to adjust to having an outdoor toilet and an indoor slum. The place was a dump. There was a subsequent occasion when Jane's mother ordered Jane, her brother and her sister to scour the home for stray pennies so that they could go and buy some bread. Jane reports that the daily arguing and screaming between her parents was due to the family's destitution and squalor. Despite her dire domestic circumstances, Jane was mainly a model school pupil who would go on to achieve some impressive qualifications. In keeping with her infernal home life, however, by her teens, Jane was battling depression, anxiety and an eating disorder. Jane survived the suicide attempt that she made at the age of 15. The many pills that she found in the family's medicine cabinet, and promptly swallowed, weren't enough to kill her. The sexual promiscuity on which Jane embarked, also at the age of 15, is unlikely to come as any surprise. Jane had no self-respect or self-esteem. I slept with boys, usually on the first night, because I was scared that they wouldn't want me if I didn't. I let them do whatever they liked to me. These are more or less Jane's own words on the matter. Jane also recounts that the abortion that she had at the age of 17 was one of the most traumatic experiences of her life. Working as a shop assistant at Marks & Spencer after leaving college was by no means what Jane had aspired to. After gaining a qualification in fashion design, Jane had dreamed of designing for major fashion brands. In fact, as time progressed, Jane possibly even forgot all about the advert in The Lady that she had answered at one point. Working as a personal dresser to a busy mother who made frequent international trips, this being the job in question, wasn't the same as designing for Prada or Chanel. But the job no less seemed to offer the glamour, excitement and satisfaction that Jane so ardently craved, and which she is unlikely to ever have derived working as a floor assistant at Marks & Spencer. In 1988, aged 22, however, Jane won an annual salary of £18,000 along with free and luxurious accommodation, all in her capacity as personal dresser to Her Royal Highness Duchess of York, Sarah Ferguson. Against the odds then, a young woman from Grimsby, with a background of extreme deprivation, had beaten off however many other candidates the former job advert in The Lady had attracted. Some of those candidates, one may conjecture, having come from the upper echelons of society, to land a role at the very heart of none other than the royal family. Jane had a new life, a new start. In 1995, after 5 years of marriage to Christopher Dunn Butler, a tech executive who was more than 20 years Jane's senior, Jane got divorced. But in trashing the home of a lover that she met shortly after her divorce, this being her revenge against the man, a Greek shipping tycoon, for dumping her, Jane was not carrying out her very first act of malice and revenge. Jane had previously smashed up the car of one of her lovers. What she had actually threatened to do to the man if he left her, as he subsequently did, was to kill him. In the case of another lover, having convinced him that she was carrying their child, Jane hoped to bring him back to her by telling him that she was waiting her turn at the abortion clinic that she had just checked into. Her plan failed, however, and she wasn't pregnant anyway. Jane's second suicide attempt was a rerun of her first one. It was another response of hers to being dumped by her Greek lover. When in 1998, wealthy businessman Tom Cressman was introduced to Jane by a mutual friend, he had no idea that he was meeting A woman with a markedly violent temper as well as an extremely possessive nature, and B, a woman who had only recently recovered from a vast depression that was triggered by her sudden dismissal in 1997 from her role as dresser to the Duchess of York. By the same token though, Jane was initially unaware that she was meeting a man with a taste for sodomy, tying women up, spitting in their mouth and performing other acts of BDSM on them. After Jane's dismissal from the royal family, she couldn't hold a job down, and she couldn't get back used to a life devoid of glamour and luxury. For her, living with her boyfriend in his sumptuous Fulham home just wasn't enough. She couldn't win though when she threatened to expose her lover's sexual fetishes if he didn't marry her and start a family with her. Tom had enough on her to cause her irreparable damage, and he duly countered her threats against him with threats of his own. Threats to expose one another. Threats to dump one another. Tom's forcing acts of BDSM on Jane. And yet, despite all this obvious toxicity to the relationship, the couple stayed together.
In this rarely seen video, taken less than a week before the murder, the couple are on holiday in the millionaire's playground of Lake Iseo.
Coming round to Tommy.
Morning.
Hello, buddy.
Hi there.
On the 15th of September 2000, Jane was meant to be moving out of Tom's Fulham flat. When Tom reaffirmed to Jane in the course of the holiday to the French Riviera that the two had just taken that he would never marry her, the two declared their relationship over. They weren't quite done with each other though, and 2 days on, Tom went on record for warning the police that if they didn't come to his flat, quote, someone is going to get hurt, unquote. The couple were in the middle of a violent argument and Tom was scared.
I'm having a major fight with my other half.
Is anyone injured?
Not yet.
And where's your other half?
Right here.
And what are they doing?
Staring at me.
Right, so they've assaulted anyone, sir?
Not really.
Mr. Cressman, right, there's nothing to threaten or anything else. What do you want the police to do?
I would like the police to come and split us up. I would like somebody to stop us hurting each other. Because if we don't have somebody here soon, somebody is.
For some reason, after escaping from prison in 2009, 9 years into her life term for Tom's murder, Jane didn't get any time added onto her sentence. Regarding Jane's murder conviction, the jury didn't believe her claim that she had acted in self-defence against Tom. Jane claimed, to be exact, that Tom had suddenly woken up from sleep and then started hitting her. To defend herself, Jane said that she whacked him on the head with a cricket bat and then followed up by stabbing him in the chest with a kitchen knife. In addition to Tom's phone call from earlier that evening to the police, not many people keep a cricket bat and a kitchen knife handy in the bedroom.
Jane said Tom had recently made some dangerous enemies.
She said he owed money to people and he was being blackmailed. We interviewed family, friends, business associates. None of them were aware of anything like this.
But the police told Jane that what they did have was plenty of evidence that implicated her.
Barbara had given us the background about the quarrel. The knife's missing from the kitchen block in the kitchen. There's some post-it notes from Jane. All the facts contradicted her version.
Faced with the evidence, Jane broke down.
She said, "Yes, I killed him."
Jane didn't confess to murder. Instead, she told detectives she killed Tom in self-defence.
Today, Jane is a free woman. If this video has gripped you, I recommend you to watch this one next. I'll meet you there.